Friedrich Nietzsche's New Philosophy of Night and Nature, Part C. The myths and legends of the first Hellene philosophers tell us that these traveling wise men were priests of the gods. Some of these itinerant priests, such as Orpheus, were worshippers of Apollo, while some others were worshippers of the god Dionysus. The first philosophia outside the temple may have been caused by the acquisition of some new wisdom, and if so, then it was most likely some sort of theoretical physics. Thales and the other Ionian philosophers were each seeking the form that composes the unchanging substratum of the natural world. Natural philosophy then starts at a point that is somewhat more advanced than it appears. Democritus eventually resolves the natural theory with the idea of unchanging atom particles, a theory that starts with the Ionians. It appears then that natural philosophy may have had its start within the calm sanctums of the gods, either a temple at Delphi or else some structure near Hell's theater entrance. Perhaps myth had somehow arrived at an explanation of the material forms observed in the natural environment, with geometric abstractions of earth. Maybe the imaginative methods of myth had produced a simple and elegant model of the changes wrought in the world's composing materials. Many later philosophers were of the opinion that the sun and the sky and the light were essentially good, while everything beneath this was tinged with evil. The Stoics then claimed that Zeus, Jupiter, was the universal reason or logic of the cosmos. Human logic was our highest power in emulation of Jovian logic. Then they made human nature equivalent with logic. This was wrong. Emotion, love, is our highest mental and psychical power. Nietzsche believes that Stoicism made use of logic more than it should have, that this left out other types of thought that are also useful in understanding existence. The further development of logical thinking in early philosophy caused these philosophers to mistakenly overvalue the human ability to emulate the divine logic. Logic and the discovery of its use in a scientific method are vastly important, of course. The problem was that the Solarist philosophers reduced the value of emotion far below that of logic, even going so far as to make emotions a somewhat bad type of thought. Love is a desire not conversant about a virtuous object, for it is an attempt to conciliate affection, attraction, because of some beauty which is seen. Diogenes Laertius, The Lives and Opinions of Eminent Philosophers, Zeno, Section 63. Love, affection, desire, and beauty are then having to do with an attraction towards physical objects, and as such are to be avoided. Pleasure is the enjoyment of some type of attraction. Attraction may be towards the physical, natural, or the psychical, spiritual. The attraction toward the physical was especially to be avoided by the Stoics. Physical attraction leads to sensual pleasures, and the bodily senses were not something that could be relied upon when deducing real knowledge by using logic and reasoning. Pleasure was then something that was gained mainly through use of the senses, an emotional type thought, and something to be avoided whenever possible. Pleasure is an irrational, not logical, elation of mind over something which appears to be desirable, and its different species are enjoyment, rejoicing at evil, delight, and extravagant joy. Diogenes Laertius, Zeno, section 63. This line of reasoning, however, is a deduction from the first proposition of solarism. Spiritual is good, and natural is bad. This first antithesis, Nietzsche says, is illogical. The first proposition of solarist philosophy is itself not logical. The natural isn't necessarily bad because the spiritual is good. The initial first antithesis of the spiritual and the natural doesn't follow. The antithesis is not logical. The difference between the natural and the spiritual may not have anything to do with the qualities of good and bad. Nietzsche says that this may not be the difference between them whatsoever. Nietzsche believes that we must think beyond this good and evil divergence that occurred in early philosophy, the divergence of the spiritual and the natural. The Dionysian philosophy of Epicurus must have been somewhat unique, possibly very unique, from the solarism of the Stoics. The Dionysians may have believed that everything is indifferent, not merely some things, as the Stoics thought. They may have thought that natural existence was a neutral stage, a world theater that only had the unneutral quality of sustaining life. The Dionysian nature of existence was most likely completely indifferent, that is, except for the artistic director, the god that made the chaos of changing natural material, the god Dionysus, who moved within the chaos in infinite beauty, alternating the vortices of geometric forms. If the one God of perfection, emotion, and logic produced the natural world of existence, then what was the reason for its indifference? What was the reason for its imperfection? The physical nature of reality was filled with a changing generation, decay, and death, because the primordial chaos sphere had been infused with a seepage of whirling evil, an evil of the depths below, a spiraling emerged from a dark tubular chasm that shone with the stars and the moon, a spiraling that caused movement, deterioration, and disorder, or so the Stoics thought. Virtue was using a logic that revealed the unchanging substratum of ultimate being beneath the jumbled mass of temporary and false-appearing phenomena. Parmenides had said that natural existence was a perfect being, without corruption and change of motion. This idealistic pantheism must have kept some resonance within later Stoic physics. Nature was a changing whirl of atom particles that collided and combined in an eternally moving, soupy ocean of neutral nothing, at best neutral, at worst a clinging ooze of evil. You have forced yourselves so long, so persistently, and with such hypnotic rigidity to see nature falsely, that is to say, stoically, that you are no longer able to see it otherwise. Chapter 1, paragraph 9.